Hey, it's Lockie from Coast to Watch Football. With the kickoff of the A-League men's season just around the corner, we're going to go ahead and predict some of the lineups that we could potentially see the clubs in the A-League playing this year. Going through the sides in alphabetical order, I imagine Calvert won't make too many changes to Adelaide United's tactical setup this season. Of course, Stefan Mork playing as that number 10, a key player for them. Missed a decent chunk of preseason with injury, as has Craig Goodwin. But Isaias coming into that holding midfield position. Some decent options in defence as well. I reckon Jacob Tratt and Mikkel Jakobsen will be starting in those centre-back roles. But they've also got options in George Timotheou and Nick Ansell. I'm expecting Coach Warren Moon and Brisbane Roar to deploy a similar system that they played last season, of course, with those three central defenders. They are looking a little bit thin in defence now, especially after losing Macaulay Gillespie. Not too many options in defence. But new signings, Matty Steinman, Nikola Miluznic, and of course, Argentine striker Juan Lozano, I expect to be starting in this Brisbane Roar side. But an interesting shift that we have already seen Brisbane make this preseason is Ramat Akbari playing on the right wing, a player who predominantly was deployed as a central midfielder last season. So Warren Moon does certainly have some options to rotate things around. Of course, Alex Parsons, a really talented player who they could bring off the bench. This is how I expect my Mariners to line up this season, a similar formation to the one we played last year. That defensive core of Mark Birigidi, Ruan Tongic, and Kai Rolls was key to the Mariners' success last season. I expect new signings Storm Rue and Noah Smith to slot in the fullback positions, as well as Cy Goddard and Benny Kololo in those wing positions. With Gianni Stensness leaving the club, I expect Josh Nisbet to slot in alongside Oli Bizanik in the centre of the park. But there's plenty of options up front in attack. For me, I'd love to see Aranya starting up top with Nikolai Muller just in behind, but after signing new Brazilian striker Mateus Maresh and of course Matty Simon coming off the bench, plenty of options for Nick Montgomery. MacArthur FC are absolutely stacked when it comes to the top of the park. Danny De Silva, Ulysses De Villa, Craig Noon, and Tommy Urich leading the line. I reckon Jordan Much will slot into the centre of the park there, as well as new acquisition Tommy Uskok, who I reckon will play in the centre of defence. So much quality in this Melbourne City side, who are once again predicted to pick up the A-League Championship this year. That Socceroos trio in attack, Andrew Naboot, Jamie McLaren, Matthew Leckie certainly still the spotlight. The one other change that we could potentially see is new Italian signing Manuel Pacchiarelli shifted into that midfield. But with Conor Metcalfe and Florin Berenguer having fantastic seasons last year, I wouldn't change them. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tony Popovic line up with three central defenders this season, but this is the lineup that I'm going to go for. Roderick Miranda, Mats Baranovic in defence, Jason Guerrier and Jason Davidson strengthening the side as well. In midfield, looking pretty dangerous, Brimmer, Josh Brolante, Ryan Mashan could establish a decent partnership. Italian striker Margiotta up top, as well as new signing Chris Economides coming off that right wing. And I'd like to see Marco Rojas pick up some form and fitness this season as well. And again, one of those sides who have decent depth. Laurie Latanzio, Nick D'Agostino, Robbie Cruz in attack. And in defence, the likes of Lee Broxham and Brendan Hamill who can come into the side. Very hard to predict how the Jets are going to line up this season, considering they have basically an entirely new playing squad and a new head coach. But I reckon Jordan Elsey and Matt Yeoman could establish a pretty decent partnership in the centre of defence. New signing Dane Ingham slotting in that left back role. I have put those four foreign players up front in attack, but plenty of options off the bench considering they have Archie Goodwin, Valentino Yule and Lucas Moragas. And for me, I would start Angus Thurgate ahead of Jordan O'Doherty in that holding midfield role. Of course, the first name that everyone is going to be looking for on the Perth Glory lineup this season is Daniel Sturridge, and I expect him to line up alongside Bruno Fornaroli in a 4-4-2 formation for Perth Glory this season. Again, another side who probably does have the potential to play with three central defenders, plenty of flexibility in that back line. Brandon O'Neill, a key signing for them, will be anchoring that midfield alongside Callum Timmins, and a new acquisition who has sort of flown under the radar, Spanish midfielder Sardanero, who could slot in on that left-hand side to replace Diego Castro. Former Socceroos goalkeeper Brad Jones coming into the side, providing some competition for Liam Reddy. I wouldn't expect too many tactical changes from Steve Corica and Sydney FC this season. The one major change to their starting 11 being James Donachie coming in to replace Ryan McGowan. Some decent options off the bench for the Sky Blues this season with Max Burgess, Elvis Kamsoba and Connor O'Toole. While Phoenix did lose a lot of their big name players from last season in Cam Devlin, Stephen Taylor and Ulysses De Villa, it's still a pretty decent lineup that they have this season. Rennie Piscopo, a really key player for them this year on that left wing. Gary Hooper returning to the side, I reckon will be playing up top alongside Ben Waine. It's looking like Wanderers coach Carl Robinson might be shifting away from that 3-4-3 formation that he has been playing in recent years. New signings Reece Williams and Adama Traore slotting into that back line. Some solid options in the centre of the park with Terry Antonis coming into the side to contest with the likes of Steven Ugarkovic, Keanu Bacchus, Jack Rodwell, a new signing for the club as well. But it's up front where the Wanderers look really dangerous this season. Dimitri Petratos playing in behind Tom Mohamed, Abini on the right, new Japanese signing Ogawa on the left as well, and plenty of options off the bench. And lastly, Western United, again, a team who we have seen predominantly play with 3 centre backs in recent years, but it's looking like John Aloisi might shift away from that with 4 players at the back. Leo Lacroix coming into the side, as well as keeper Jamie Young. Rennie Krhin and Neil Kilkenny, I reckon, will anchor that midfield. Diamante, once again, that key player in the number 10 role. Plenty of pace on the wings with Connor Payne and Dylan Pieris. And I reckon Prijovic will start up top, the new Serbian striker, but Dylan Wenzel-Hall is providing some solid competition for him. I could potentially be way off with some of those lineup predictions, or hopefully I could be spot on. We'll have to wait and see. But let me know, how do you think your side is going to line up this season? If you have enjoyed this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you left a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the A-League content coming from Coast Watch Football this season, make sure you hit subscribe.